Hi everyone, and thank you very much for joining me today through this very quick overview of the Wyzed system. Today in our overview, we're going to be focusing on three key areas of the system. The first one is the ability to track all licenses and receive reminders from the system around that. The second area is the ability to create and deliver beautiful online training. And the third thing is we'll be talking about how this system allows you to communicate with everyone very easily and seamlessly through the system. That being said though, let's jump into it here today. And the first area that we find ourselves on here is our dashboard. This is all editable and changeable to your organization to suit your branding and whatever your requirements are. And diving into it here at the very top, we see these four icons around the system info. The first one here starting on the left is just letting us know we have some compliance alerts. So the system will actually allow you to store and mandate certain bits of information to be required from your users or your learners. And this is just telling us here that we have 18 particular compliance alerts. An example of a compliance alert might be that we've required a certain license or documentation or information, and maybe it's missing. It could be that it's about to expire, and the system will actually send out notifications starting from 60 days out through to 30 days, and then closer to the date, including the day it expires. Or it could be that the information is actually already expired as well too. If we click into that, you'll be able to see very simply that a quick list of all the different items here, and we can go through and action it accordingly. Going back though, we find ourselves back on our dashboard here, and this is where we find our user count. So we have 8 particular learners or users into the system. We'll be going through them a little bit more. We find that we have 8 courses set up already. We'll be going through those a little bit more in a moment. And we have 5 administrators. So through the Wyzed system, it actually allows you to designate certain individuals to hold higher levels of power, and that's the ability to view and edit content as well as manage a particular user group as well too. Further down here, we have an advanced search function. We'll be talking a little bit more about that in a few moments, but this essentially allows you to look through your user group to see who has what particular documents and sorting it on a range of groupings such as cohorts and other bits of information. And a little further down here, we have the course cards. So these are the different courses we have set up for learning. And you can see already on the top here, we have a range of quick visual info that's accessible to us, including being able to see how many learners have actually completed the course. But we'll come back to this here in a few moments. Let's actually quickly talk about the learners in our system now, learners or users. What we see here is we see that through the columns that we can sort and have a quick visual info looking at all the different information. We can group them to different cohorts together. We can see their join date. We can see those alerts on a quick glance again. And at this point as well, we can now send email or SMS communication as well too. So if we need to communicate with them, we can do it here. And you'll see that's woven throughout the system as well too. We see they are enrolled in one course at the moment, and I get a quick glance as well too. We can see a quick progress bar to see where they're at in terms of the learning and education system we've put them into. So from here, we're just going to click on one of our learners, and we're going to go a little bit deeper here. And at a quick glance here on the learning section, again, you can see the course that they're enrolled in, as well as their completion, and a total learner history where everything is time-stamped, as well as the ability to upload certain documents there. Next, we want to go over to our qualifications, and the real power of the Wyzed system is that it allows us to begin to tailor and set certain requirements that the organization might hold for the different groupings of employees and individual employees around required documents that they may need or bits of information. As you can see here, we have 3 here. We've got a driver's license with an expiry date, and as you can see here, this now expires in a month, so it's telling us that there will be a particular issue. Here we see there's a bachelor's degree that has no expiry date, so it's done there and it's all held there. And lastly, we see that there's a first aid certificate, which is expired 2 months ago, as we can see by the date there. So what happens here is that this license field is a combination of a file as well for evidence. Again, with that expiry date, as I mentioned earlier, if once it falls within 60 days, the system will actually send alerts to the users and the administrators who have visibility over that user. And essentially it will, once we upload a particular file, if I add a new file here, it will then allow us to click and drag that as well as put an expiry date there to essentially solve that particular area. From here, we're going to transition onto the information section here, and we can see that there's just a range of information that you can put on the file for your particular user. It could be department, date of birth, gender, and can be added as you want. And it's essentially a database for all your particular different users. The great thing with the Wyzed system is that it actually allows you to set certain fields as mandatory so that if they are empty or in some sort of invalid state, they'll actually count as a compliance alert as well too, to really make sure that you have all the required information on the system. Going up to the top here, we're going to go into account settings very quickly. And from there, we're going to click on our custom fields. And this allows us further customization for this particular employee in terms of how exactly what fields are required and the visibility on that. So here we can see we have information and qualifications, and we have 4 different settings we can put it on. So if it's not applicable, it means again it's not applicable to that particular learner. If it's not visible, that means that the employee or the user won't be able to see that information, only the administrator. So if you want to store certain bits of information but you don't want the employee to know about that, then that's essentially where you configure it there. Visible is where you see they're on today. This is where the learner will be able to see the field but not be able to change it. And as well, you can set it to edit. So this will allow the learner to be able to edit this field. Next, we're going to go back to the dashboard here. I'm just going to use this quick navigation tool in the top left-hand corner, and we're going to talk very quickly now about our advanced search function within the system. The advanced search function allows you to build advanced queries and use filters to return a list of matching users to easily see any compliance issue. So for example, I might filter by a certain cohort. I'm looking for maybe my trainers who have a first aid certificate. I'll click Save Changes, and now I'm going to click Run Search, and we're able to now pull up an exhibit of exactly where all of our trainers, as we've grouped them in a cohort, and the ones that require first aid certificate. So here you can see that there's no files expired 2 months ago, and there's nothing in there. So perhaps maybe let's say that we know that these 2 learners went recently to a first aid course and they just haven't uploaded it. So in that case, we can highlight both of them, we can click on the action, and now we can message the selected. We can email or SMS the particular learners. Click SMS there, and now it allows us to type in a particular field there, and by clicking this here, which is already by default, it will then have a link back to the site so they can go through, and then we can tell them that they need to promptly upload that particular documentation. The great thing as well too with this is that we can actually download a table for further analysis and filtering if we need to, especially if we're doing external reporting or for any other requirements by the organization. Next, we want to talk a bit about our courses here. So as we mentioned earlier, the Wyzed system is very simple and easy to create beautiful, engaging courses for your learners. And again, at the top here, we can see a quick overview, as I mentioned, about how many learners have completed the course. And we're going to dive into it here now. We can see that the course is broken into a series of topics here. Very simple to do in terms of being able to build out the course content as you require. And now we're going to get a further view to see how they're tracking. We have this tick mark indicates that the particular topic is enabled, and here we have actually disabled that, so the learners can't access it or complete it at this time. So it allows you to really drive the process. We're going to go back up to the top here. We're going to click Manage Learners, and this again allows us to drill even further down into how our different users and learners are actually progressing along through the course. Again, this is great that if we need to message maybe all the ones who haven't, or we want to message certain ones, again, we can do that through this essentially the same method as I showed you before, being able to send them an SMS or an email, and again, directing them back to the particular course. So if they need to do something prior to maybe an upcoming meeting, we can do so, we can communicate back to them there. Next, we want to go back to the course home for a second, and let's just quickly talk about the ability and how easy it is to create it. So I'll go into this first one here, and this is as we view it as an administrator. So this actually allows us to build out the particular course content as we need to. There's a range of fields that are accessible in terms of being able to create beautiful and engaging content. We have the ability to upload videos into the system, or if they're hosted on Vimeo or YouTube, we can have a URL. We can see a group discussion element. We have the ability to upload a particular document, quizzes, and so on and so forth. So if we need to add any other content or any other particular elements to this, at any point we see these plus buttons. We click that, and then that allows us to look at a range of additional elements we need to. So we have the ability to add text fields, images, videos, as we talked about, upload audio, external links, the ability for files, Google Docs, there's areas for embedded code, and then these last four are interactive elements such as discussions, the ability for the learner to upload it, there's long or short form answers, as well as multiple choice, which this gives them feedback. And if I scroll back to the top here, we can now preview a topic. So we can now look at it as the learner or the user would see it here. So very beautiful, very easy to do. We can see the content where we can respond back to them, and all the other bits of information here totally accessible. Next, we're going to go back to our dashboard again, and just to conclude. So that essentially wraps up the three different components here. Very simply, a few other things is that you can easily create new learners by simply inviting them. You can also create new courses as well as you need to. So all from the dashboard, you can manage everything you need to do. You can also manage your administrators here. And again, as we spoke about, you have the ability to change them depending on to give them additional or limit some of their privileges. There's actually a great feature is the ability to do further reporting as well too. So if you want to do any deeper user analysis or again any other reporting, you can do so there. Very easy to use, click of a button. And the last thing to note is that for all customers, you receive a dedicated white labeled app running on a subdomain of your choice, or even a custom domain as well too. So making sure it's on brand and a very easy to use experience for your users and your learners. That concludes today. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.